Hello, I'm your storyteller. I'd love to know where you're watching my videos from. You can tell me in the comments below. When you are ready, lean back, and let's dive into this week's horror stories. We rented a beach house on the coast of North Carolina for the first week of July. My parents found it on some rental site, and the pictures made it look perfect. Bright blue shutters, a wraparound porch, ocean views from every room. It was exactly the kind of place you picture when you think about a good vacation. There were 5 of us: my parents, my younger brother Owen, my older sister Riley, and me. I'd just turned 19 and honestly didn't want to come along. But after a lot of guilt tripping about one last family trip before real life starts, I gave in. I figured I'd just spend the week reading and pretending I was somewhere else. The house was even nicer than the photos. But the first weird thing I noticed was one of the upstairs doors was locked. It was down the hallway near the bedrooms. I asked my dad about it while we were unpacking, and he said he already checked with the owner. Supposedly, it was just a supply closet for cleaning stuff. Brooms, mops, nothing to worry about. I didn't worry at first either. But the first night, I had trouble sleeping. My room was at the end of the hall, right across from that locked door. After midnight, I heard a weird noise. It sounded like something scraping slowly across the wooden floor. I sat up and listened. I figured maybe one of my siblings was up for the bathroom and went back to sleep. The next morning, no one mentioned hearing anything, and I didn't either. But the second night, it happened again. Same time, same dragging noise. But this time I also heard breathing. I got out of bed and pressed my ear to the door to listen. I thought one of my siblings were messing with me. I cracked the door open just a little. The hallway was empty. The locked door was still closed. My siblings weren't anywhere to be seen. I told myself I was imagining it. I even joked to Riley earlier that day that maybe the house was too perfect, like it needed a little creepiness to make it interesting. She laughed it off, said I'd been watching too many creepy YouTube videos. By the third night, I wasn't sleeping at all. The scraping was longer this time, like something was being dragged back and forth right in front of the locked door. I could hear it pressing right up against the wood, almost like whatever it was listening too. I just sat in my bed for what felt like hours and stared at that door. At one point, I even recorded the sound on my phone to prove to myself I wasn't crazy. But when I played it back, there was nothing, just the quiet hum of the ceiling fan, which kind of freaked me out. I could clearly hear it, but the phone wasn't picking it up. The next morning, I told my mom about it. I said I thought something was off about the house. Maybe someone had a key or the owners had left something behind in the locked room. She brushed me off. "Sweetheart, this place is safe. Look at it. Nothing to worry about." That was the day things really changed. When I got back to my room after breakfast, I noticed the lock on my bedroom door had been replaced. Not the knob, just the lock itself. New, shiny, definitely not the one from before. And on the floor, just under the door frame, was a piece of folded notebook paper. It said in neat block letters, "Not this room." I showed it to Riley. She laughed at first, thinking it was a prank. But when we checked all the other rooms, no one else had a new lock, just me. And when I called the owner's number from the rental listing, it went straight to voicemail. I showed it to my dad, who said the owner had probably just been there to replace some old locks. Although I found it weird that he would do it while the house was booked, I accepted the explanation for now. However, the coming night would change it all. I kept the door locked and wedged a chair under the knob. I turned off all the lights and waited. Around 1 a.m., the scraping started again, over and over on the floor inside the room. Then the breathing started, followed by tapping. Slow and rhythmic tapping. It stopped around 3 a.m. The next day, I convinced my dad to check inside. He was annoyed, but finally agreed. We tried calling the owner again, no answer. Dad grabbed a screwdriver and forced the lock. Inside, the room was empty, but the floorboards were scratched, long, deep grooves running back and forth from wall to wall. No cleaning supplies, no brooms, just dust, and in the far corner, a stack of folded blankets. Next to them, a worn-out mattress. That's when I realized the scratches started right beside it. We didn't say anything to the others, but I knew someone had been living there, maybe still was. My dad wasn't convinced, though. He said that stuff only happens in movies, and the owner was just using that room for storage. I was worried. It all seemed too weird. Luckily, we had to leave the next day. I locked my door again and wedged a chair under the knob like I had done the previous nights. Strangely, though, nothing happened at all the last night. We left early the next morning. Me and two friends, Claire and Maya, all in our 20s, booked a week at this resort in Tulum to unplug and just get away from everything. It was right on the beach with private bungalows, hammocks under palm trees. Maya found it on some travel blog, and the reviews were all positive. The first few days felt like a dream. Mornings on the beach, afternoons exploring or grabbing drinks at the open-air bar. No crowds. The staff was polite but distant. No chit-chat, just quick smiles and "Sí, señorita," before disappearing again. The Wi-Fi barely worked, which was annoying at first, but honestly it forced us to unplug for real. We read, talked, took a ton of photos. It all felt peaceful, until it didn't. One night after dinner, Claire was flipping through her camera roll while we were all lying in bed, a little tipsy, talking about how we never wanted to leave. Then she stopped. "Okay, this is weird," she said. "What?" Maya asked. "These photos, I didn't take these." I leaned over to look. They were pictures of us, sleeping. Me curled up, face buried in my pillow. Maya with the blanket pulled up, mouth open. It wasn't selfies. It was like someone had quietly went around the room and snapped them. "There's one of me too," Claire said, scrolling. "I swear I didn't take this." My skin crawled as I looked closer. All three of us, different nights, same angles from shoulder height. But none of us remembered hearing or seeing anything. Maya said, "Maybe someone picked up your phone," and I cut her off because I was scared and irritated. "Who?" I asked. "The door's locked every night. Windows too. You think a housekeeper snuck in and took pictures of us sleeping?" We all forced a laugh, but it was a nervous one. Claire kept scrolling. Then she gasped. She turned the phone toward us. Another picture of me asleep. But in the corner, by the curtain, was a shadowy figure. You couldn't make out much, just a silhouette half hidden behind the fabric. A shoulder, maybe a hand. Maya zoomed in. "Is that a person?" "Looks like they're holding something," I said. "Camera," Claire said, nodding. "Look at the angle of the arms." We sat in silence, staring at the grainy shape. I was sure now, someone was in our room. After that, we all checked our phones. Mine had photos I never took, same weird angles and shadows. Maya's had dozens more, some with timestamps from hours we were asleep, others with no metadata at all, like they came from nowhere. None of us slept that night. We kept the lights on. The next morning, we asked the front desk if there were cameras in the bungalows. The woman frowned, shook her head. "No cameras," she said. "Private. Always." When we showed her the photos, she barely looked. Muttered something in Spanish I caught. "Bruja," which means witch, I think. Her face went cold. She told us to leave. She didn't have to tell us twice. We packed and left in under an hour. Weeks later, Maya deleted all the photos. Claire lost her phone somehow. I kept mine. Don't know why. Maybe I need proof I'm not crazy. I mean, who would believe me otherwise? Last summer, my girlfriend and I went on a Caribbean cruise. Her idea. A full week off the grid. No work, no phones, just the sun and ocean. I wasn't exactly thrilled, never been much of a cruise guy, but the ship was impressive. 15 decks, pools, casinos, all that. Like a floating city. By day 4, though, the novelty had worn off. We'd already done the excursions, sat through the shows, taken the pictures. That night after dinner, she crashed early with a migraine. I was restless, couldn't sleep. Around midnight, I figured I'd walk it off. I didn't feel like looping the pool deck again with drunk tourists and bad music, so I headed down, toward the quieter levels. Eventually, I found myself on deck 6 near the rear of the ship. It was empty and quiet. It was peaceful in a way. That's when I saw a plain white door at the end of the hall. No signage, no keycard reader. Just a metal handle and the ghost of an old sticker or label peeled halfway off. I pulled it open. Inside was a narrow corridor with dim orange lights, exposed pipes, metal grating underfoot. The air hit me immediately. It was thicker, warmer, and under it all, a low mechanical hum. Constant. Deep. It was probably the ship's engines. I told myself I'd walk for a minute, just out of curiosity, then turn around. Maybe 30 steps in, I passed a big number stenciled on the wall. 6A, engine access. Still no warning signs and no cameras. Then I heard something weird, a soft noise up ahead. Fabric against metal, followed by slow footsteps. I stopped, figuring it was a crew member. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. Then, from the far end of the hallway, something stepped into view. It was not a crewmate like I thought at first. Whatever it was too tall to be human. Shoulders brushing the ceiling, arms hanging low, almost down to the knees. I couldn't make out a face. Out of fear, I said, "Sorry, I didn't mean to be back here." I started walking back the way I came, fast. I didn't run, not until I heard it following me. The footsteps echoed, deep and metallic. Like every step it took was twice the weight of a normal person. Still slow, still steady, but definitely following. It felt like I was running forever. When I finally hit the door, I shoved it open and slammed it behind me and ran back to my room. When I got back to our cabin, I didn't say a word to my girlfriend. I didn't want to scare her. But the next night, around 3 a.m., I woke up freezing. The room was ice cold and the AC was off. Then I heard it. On the other side of the wall behind our bed. Heavy footsteps, one at a time. I pressed my ear to the wall, and I swear, I heard breathing. Long, shaky inhales, wet, almost raspy. Then, right behind the wall, I heard a voice. It whispered my name. Not my full name, not sir. My nickname, the one only my girlfriend uses. I stayed still in bed waiting for more sounds, but the rest of the night was quiet. The next morning, I asked a crew member if there was a utility room or storage space behind that part of the ship. He looked confused, said that whole section behind the cabins was structural, sealed space, no access, no one back there. 2 days later, we docked. I didn't tell my girlfriend. I didn't tell anyone. They'll think I'm crazy, and I don't blame them. I would too. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, as it shows the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy my content. I'll see you next week for another horror story video.